You're tuned into the Writing Community Chat Show, the live streaming YouTube podcast that brings you the stories of authors, screenwriters, and more. Indie or established, this show's for the community. We invite you to be a part of it. Head to thewritingcommunitychatshow.com for more info. The WCCS. Together as one, we get it done.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Writing Community Chat Show. It's Monday, we're here, it's a special occasion. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the Writing Community Chat Show. We're here on a Monday for a very, very special occasion and the release of an anthology. I'm a little bit reluctant to get this guest on, considering his name. I need to because he's the editor of this anthology. So if you notice my name there, Ross Boss underneath, Deadline Destroyer, because I was very late in producing my story for this anthology. And here's Ross.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Chris?
Yeah, I'm very good, Ross. Hooli sucks. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but based on our conversations that we've had,
you can end that sentence any way you choose. I should have done a ... at the end of it.
Yeah. Hello to everyone. Hello, Agate. He's watching from his sick bed.
This is weird.
Yeah, this is a little bit weird. Yeah, people. Linda, hello to you. Hello, Halo, Ross Boss. Yeah, see, the name has stuck. We like that. So, yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And Halo obviously laughing at the names and Life laughing at the names as well. So, Ross, obviously, this is a very special edition of the Writing Community Chat Show. And the reason that we are doing this special edition is because your brain conjured up this. Sorry, I don't know how I was going to introduce it. Oh, it's underneath. So, Ross, you're the editor of this anthology, and it includes 13 members of the writing community in this anthology. So, would you like to explain a little bit about how it came to be? Yeah, and everything else, please.
Okay. So that's quite difficult. I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do an anthology with a group of authors who's writing that I like and who I think would enjoy the process, and it would bring a load of people together. Writing can be, well, I hesitate to say lonely. But as we all know, the Writing Community Chat Show is very good at this. It's nice occasionally to get people to work together to do something. And I think that something like an anthology can be a really good way to do it. Chris is giggling. And what I wanted to do was to get people together to do something that we were all invested in, that we were all interested in. And I think that worked quite nicely. And I think it's a really good opportunity for people to put out their work and have fun with it. And I know a lot of people have had experiences with anthologies before, sometimes not always that positive. And I wanted to make sure that didn't happen. So that's why I decided to do it, because I'd been involved in some in the past. And I thought, I didn't really necessarily enjoy the process, so I really wanted to make it so that was my goal, to make sure that everyone enjoyed doing it. And hopefully that's what happened. And hopefully that means everyone's going to get a chance to read all of our writing for free, which is, quite unusual. I hate giving away stuff for free, particularly. So that's been really, really painful for me. But it's been good fun, except for, dealing with people who can't handle deadlines and stuff like that. But just live with it that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, people have had bad experiences with anthologies before, and by the sounds of what you just said, the Ross Boss element kicked in and you thought, do you know what, I can definitely do this, and I'm going to get a team of people together who are going to enjoy this process. So I guess my question is, what made you get this group of people in particular, and have you enjoyed the Ross Boss experience as much as you thought you would?
No, to the second question, mainly because of the dickhead names. But the people that are involved, I reached out to quite a few people, and I tried to pick people who I knew would be fun to work with as well. That was quite important to me, and it was something people who weren't afraid to take a bit of a gamble and do something that was a bit of an experiment and stuff like that as well. And I tried to be thoughtful about who I asked, because I know that a lot of people would have said yes and probably put themselves in a situation where they were drowning already in other things. So I tried to think about that, and I tried to think about who would be enthusiastic, and I tried to think about whose stories I wanted to read. So I went and sought out most people that were, I think everyone that was involved in the end, I went and sourced them rather than the other way around, which I think is nice. And I think that's something that we should be able to do in the writing community, is go, look, I like what you do. I'd like a story from you. It's a different way of doing things rather than we all hate submissions. And I think that we all, whether we admit it or not, we all know how subjective it all is. And if you are reading through submissions, as I have done before, it can be quite painful, and someone can absolutely love something that you hate. And I think that it's quite nice in this way to go around and go, I know that I like what you write and I want to see more of it. And that was good fun in that sense. But the process was fun in terms of getting everyone together and seeing what everyone came up with, and I'm just going to wait until that comment goes. You can remove that, can't you? Because she's so creepy. She's so creepy. And why aren't you on here?
Yeah, Halo's asking, obviously she's referenced that you went around asking people for their mind milk. So, yeah, that sounds about right. Once you got people's mind milk in, Ross, or Ross Boss, should I say?
Once they milked everybody.
Yeah, once you milked everyone for their mind milk, how did you go about...
Pulling on your story tears. Go on.
How did you go about putting all that mind milk together and presenting the mind milk as a beautiful cheesecake?
Churning it into a beautiful brie. That's quite tricky, actually. When you're putting together something like this, one of the hardest things is trying to think about the order. And I did ask a couple of people. I asked you and Halo to have a look at the order of things as well. And what I tried to do, and a lot of this was leading on things that Halo said as well, was consider the stories in terms of a moist Halo. Moist is what we were going for. In terms of... I think that's a tough challenge next to the Peanuts anthology, but the idea was to have an overarching story development, if you like, and make sure that this is really hard because I'm getting distracted by all of these.
Sorry, that's a good question though.
It's okay. Mind milk is actually lactose free. So you don't need to break down the lactose in it. You'll be absolutely fine. It's like almond milk. What was I saying? This is ridiculous. What was I saying? Okay, yeah. So the idea was...
Sorry, Ross. I will let you. I'll just show.
No. It's all right. I'm looking at them anyway. Okay.
There you go. I promise you, I'll give you at least 30 seconds.
I can still see them. I forgot what I was saying now. Anyway, it was good fun, and the idea was make there an overarching theme and make sure that it changed tone as it went through. So I like to think that it's got a rhythm to the stories as it goes through, and that can't be done until you see what people present you with. And I was really surprised by the variety in the stories. Actually, that came back, because I was worried that I was going to end up with some things, and my job was going to be to try and keep away similar stories rather than having such variety. And there really is. It's really quite startling, the difference in tone, the different routes that people went down, even the perspective that people went to with the stories and things like that. It's really interesting. And it means that I think you're really kept on your toes as a reader when you read through them. You don't know what to expect. It's going to be completely different every time. And I think that it's quite nice that it has so many different elements to it. I have read anthologies in the past that come across quite samey in a way. Well, the author's voice is there, but it does sound like, okay, this is just a very tight theme, if you like, for an anthology, which I find quite difficult sometimes. So I'm like, okay, that was clever. You're telling the same story. Where's your twist coming? Rather than it being a completely unique story every time. So that was really good fun. I think the stories are fantastic. Actually, I was really, really pleased with what came back from everyone.
Well, in case we were worried, Brandon is now here, so we don't need to worry. Hello to you, Brandon. I was worried as well, to be honest, but now that he's here, I'm quite happy. So yeah, obviously you're talking about putting them all together, bringing a collection of minds. So should we bring on a couple of people who have contributed to this anthology to sort of help you guide your way through the mind milk chaos?
Swimming through the mind milk lake. Yeah.
Yeah. And just before that, I've got a couple of milk references. Milk is nice, says Agate, until it's lumpy and smells like old people. So,
like old people. Who do you?
Yeah.
The old people that smell like old. Oh, that's made me feel a little bit sick.
This one definitely made me feel sick. Oh no, that's the same one.
Lumpy and smells like old people. I don't regularly sniff old people. What's everyone got chunky milk for? You shouldn't have chunky milk.
Milk is a little spoiled with chunky bits. Oh, that is gross. Everyone's saying hello to. Oh my god, this is even worse. Yeah, maybe let's not get into that brain sperm element.
I think sperm would actually break down your brain cells, wouldn't it? Because it's got the same enzymes.
I wouldn't like to think about it.
Membrane around your brain. It'd be like digging into a giant egg. Carry on.
So Ross, as editor in chief, I'm going to let you decide which person we bring on first, because we've got 3 authors that have contributed to the anthology below, and I'm going to ask you to pick your favorite.
I can't see them.
So we have Nikki, John, and SJ.
You asked me to bring on my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Like a favorite child.
I'm not.
Okay, pick the one that you think is most likely to smell milk.
The most likely to smell milk?
Yeah, smell
milk.
Yeah, just sniff test. Like, like you do sometimes where you pull it out the fridge and sniff
let's bring John on, okay? And accept the fact that he doesn't smell like milk. I don't know. John, do you smell like milk? Come on, John. Do you smell like milk?
Do I smell like milk? I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, it's about time they started making Lynx deodorant in a milk smell, isn't it? I guess then I could use some of that. But no, I think I don't know. I don't know what I smell of really. But I'm sure it's not milk or not lumpy milk anyway. So, but there you go. Anyway, thank you for having me.
Problem solved. There we go. John, have you got Nightingale written behind you on the wall? That's very cool.
It goes along with. There's a picture. Like if anybody's ever read the books, that I mean we're getting way off topic already, but the Hunters book, the Ballad of the Songbird books I do. There's a character called Gail Knightley in it who goes by the call sign Nightingale, and Nikki N.T. Anderson, the old book wife, she had that painting done as a commission for me from an artist called Celeste, and then my wife had the Nightingale stencil cut out so that I could put beneath it. So yeah, that's been on my wall for a while now. But yeah, so that's my call sign, so to speak.
Actually, that's a really good little segue, John. So now tell us about your story, because it's all related and interlinked.
Where do you want me to start with? The Malarkey's story, I guess. God, where do I start on this one? So yeah, when you came to me, Ross, and we were talking about doing these short stories and these urban fantasy sort of they walk among us tales. It's difficult because like I read everybody else's tales and everybody else seems so much more imaginative than me because I just fell back on what I knew. I was like, because I've been writing, I've got a series of books called The Ballad of the Songbird, which basically it's a tale where it's sort of set like alternate future, but it's urban fantasy. So it's set like about 20 years from now in a world where vampires and werewolves are commonplace. There was an event called The Rising where the supernatural entities from from myth and legend sort of rose up and made themselves known to the world and took over huge swathes of the world. So when I started writing this short for Malarkeys, I fell back on that. I thought, oh, do you know what? I could walk back to do sort of a prequel short story to my own Songbird books where these creatures that have been walking among us for years, and I can tell like a little snippet of that event, the Rising event or the start of it, and that's where it came from. So that's where my thought process went. I immediately went, oh, I can just do a little prequel story to the books that I'm already doing. So I did that, sent it in to you. You seemed to like it, so that was good. And then I read everybody else's who had way more imaginative stories than I did. I was like, oh God, I wish I thought it was something different now. But
I'm pretty sure that's how we all felt, to be fair, reading everyone else's stories. So I know that I did. I started reading the others and just went, okay. Well,
yeah,
maybe I could have done something a little bit more clever than this. Yeah.
Because every time I read one, I was like, oh, that was such a good idea. That's such a nice twist on something. And, and then working with Nikki, obviously, Nikki came to me with hers. I won't talk about Nikki. She can talk about hers when she comes in. But, I was like, wow, this is such a cool idea. Why didn't I think of this idea? This is like, next time we do one of these, I'll have to think more outside the box and start trying to be a little more adventurous. But, this one just tied into what I already knew. I played it safe.
I don't think you did. I think it's brilliant. And I think that's actually much, much harder what you did than people realize. I've tried it myself with my stuff to write little prequel snippets and little short stories from the world that I built. And I actually find it absolutely impossible to do. Just can't do it. And it should lend itself to it, but I find it so difficult to do because I can't. You do something so big and then to condense it down and use elements of it in a smaller way and keep the tone, I find really difficult. I think
it's quite interesting actually, because like Nikki had mentioned to me ages ago, she said you should write a prequel series to Songbird, and I said, well, when I finish Songbird, which is planned to be 7 books, maybe I'll think about writing a prequel book or trilogy or something to set it. But then when I wrote the short for Malarkey's, I was like, it's got a character in it that's in at the end who's in the other books, but in a very different way. And it was quite a nice exercise to imagine her before she became the character she is now, if that makes sense, because and then that started to inform, because I'm currently writing the 3rd book in that series, and that character's in that book, and it started to give me a very different spin on that character for that book as well. I started to think of her in a very different light, after reflecting back on what was in the Malarkey short, it became a very different character. It's thrown me a few curveballs, to be fair, because I started to write her in a very different way and then realised I was throwing a hand grenade into my own storyline and was like, oh, no, I can't do that. But it has been fun. And writing the short in itself is like, over the past year or so, I've like challenged myself to do a few different things. I wrote the first 2 Songbird books and then found I needed a break from those. Do you know what I mean? It's like you get to a point where you're like, I knew the 3rd one needed to be written, but I needed a break. So I changed tack and wrote like a superhero book called The Femme Fatales. It's like a series of sort of superhero books it was going to be, and they're much shorter because the Songbird books are quite big. They're quite chunky affairs. So I decided to do something shorter, and then to challenge myself again, I tried to write a novella, which I've never done before either. Like coming down even shorter and there's an art, I think, which I'm not sure I've got yet, but there's an art to being able to write a very short story and make it really. And then, of course, when you came to me with the Malarkey's proposition and said, you're limited to under 5,000 words, I was like, oh my God, when I first wrote Hunters, the first of the Songbird books, the first edit of that, or the first draft of that, weighed in at 260,000 words. And I had no idea at the time that was just way too big. And I remember going in front of an editor for the first time, and they said, "Yeah, that's way too big. That's like bigger than the Harry Potter books." So I had to massively cut that down. I think it came in at about 140 eventually, but so I literally had to cut half the book out. But there's a skill to being really economical, and I'm trying to learn that. And this was a really good exercise in trying to create a story in 5,000 words or less, which I was quite proud of what I came up with, but it was a real challenge.
I really liked it, and I think that is a kind of a challenge that a lot of people thrived on, because it's not, Chris, I swear to God, stop changing my name. It's a challenge that I think a lot of us, because I think most people that are involved were novelists. Not everyone, actually. Most people were primarily novelists. And I think that asking someone to write a short story who is mainly focused on their novels that they're writing at the minute is quite a challenge. I think that was a lot of fun for a lot of people to get involved in that.
I think you can tell as well when you read through some of the shorts. There's a lot of imagination on show, and some of them are really, really good and really clever as well in a lot of cases as well.
Yeah.
So, John, there might be people out there that have obviously picked this up now, and hopefully this continues. Obviously, people keep pushing it up the charts. But tell us a little bit about your story before we bring on some other authors, and like what it's called, obviously you've gone into the thought process as well, but just who you think will like it and enjoy that story as well, maybe.
The story's called The Night Before, and it basically, I say, it's a prequel to my Hunters books, where basically this event that was about to happen, that's called The Rising, where the vampires and the werewolves and God knows what the world all rise up. So this is the tale that's set just before that happens. It's the night that's going to happen, yeah. And it reveals there's three characters in it predominantly, and they're not everything is what it seems to be without giving too much away. And I want to talk about it without giving too much away. There's it's hard
to give it away.
Yeah, because I tried to get a twist in the story. I tried to make the first part of the story read one way, and then when you hit the center point, it twists it, and then you suddenly realise that the person you were following for the first half isn't quite the person you thought they were. And I tried to hit that twist. How successful I did that, I don't know, but I tried. So I don't want to give too much away before we go, but it was, and then you get this another character coming in the second act, so to speak, or the third act, I suppose. No, second and third act. I guess it's towards the end of the second act, but which then is like sort of like the savior of the piece, so to speak. And she's the character that follows through into the Songbird books as well. So yeah, and it's a vampire tale, so it's got vampires in it, and other creatures as well. There's another creature in there, or another entity in there, should I say? I don't know what else to say about it without giving too much away. I don't want to just go. I don't know which one to talk.
No,
I could talk to like death, but
yeah, that's exactly what we're after. Obviously, what it was about, what people would enjoy. I'm going to ask if that's all right to just drop you off just for a little bit. Bring another author that's contributed to the anthology on, and then what we're going to do is at the end we'll have everyone on screen and talk about the collaboration as a whole, if that's okay. But I just want to spotlight another author for about 10 minutes or so.
Go for it. Right.
Brill. So Ross, we have, in fact, John.
You choose.
Yeah, I'll let you pick, John. So we've got Nikki and SJ waiting in the green room.
I mean,
can we have another
book,
question? So the first question that we asked was really random. Which person is most likely to smell milk or smell like milk, as Ross interpreted it?
I wasn't saying
that was a random question that we can ask John. It was.
What was that? Sorry,
it's recorded.
What was that? You want me to give you a random question to ask?
No, I've asked the people in the chat to give us a random question.
Right, okay.
That we can pose to you in order to pick our next.
I mean, I don't know how fair this is, because Nikki, obviously, she's my editor and book wife. I work with her all the time. SJ, I've only got to know very recently, so it's like I don't know. It's difficult to pick between the two. Depends what the question is, I guess.
Okay.
Right now, all the questions are.
Brandon's made a statement, which is part of a series of statements, but he said, especially in public where I can show off. So my question is,
wait, I get a question.
Oh, yes. Of course you want to ask this, Ross. Who would be most likely to kiss Ross?
I genuinely thought it said kill Ross. So I thought that was
yeah, okay.
Now it's
So
awkward.
who's more likely to kiss Ross? John, Nikki, or SJ?
That's probably Nikki, because she's especially when she's drunk.
Right, we'll let her respond to whether she would kiss Ross.
I wouldn't want to besmirch any of SJ's character, but I'll besmirch Nikki's.
Fair enough. That seems fair. So, John, I'm going to drop you off and bring the person most likely to kiss Ross on. There you are.
I honestly thought that said kill, and I still might go with kill anyway.
Oh, wait. Yes, I'm popping champagne here. I have champagne every release day.
That is a great structure to have. Yeah, why not?
And I drink everything out of a mason jar. So.
Do you know, I honestly thought that was some milk. I thought you'd gone next to the milk references.
That was terrifying.
It is not curdled milk. We're not doing that.
So, Nikki, you're on the champagne. Ross Boss is on the OJ, by the looks of it.
I hope that's spiked.
It's not. I'm not.
You're so disappointing. I was going to kiss you, but now I'm not sure.
It's well, because of my orange juice breath. I understand. It's hard to deal with. I'm so tired that if I had a drink, I wouldn't be able to talk because I just fall asleep straight away. I might have one when we're done.
I understand. You did a lot of work on this.
Oh, it wasn't that. It's my little one was up very early, as she always is, and it's an hour ahead here from Holy, so it's getting late for me because I was up at like 4, 5. Yeah.
Linda's right. My mind has no curdled milk, no milk, nothing. It's all champagne.
Yeah, lots of people saying do not drink champagne with lumpy milk.
No. Hey, how about let's just not drink lumpy milk?
So, Nikki,
where are we going, guys?
Yeah, tell us about your contribution to Ross Boss's anthology.
Okay, well, that was a total accident. That was actually Ross's lumpy milk mind that got me into this because I don't write urban fantasy.
You don't. Let's be fair. You clearly didn't find it. Well, it must have been a fun challenge, but spot on, really.
Yeah, it just kind of worked out that way. I was editing John's story the night before, and he went to Ross and he said, "I'll have it for you shortly. Nikki's editing." And Ross went, "Oh, well, does Nikki want to contribute?" And so John came back to me and said, "Ross wants to know if you want to write a story." And I was like, "I don't write urban fantasy." And he was like, "Well, you could try." And I just kind of took a weekend and stopped what I was doing because I needed a break anyway. I think John was saying that about I was getting kind of stuck with what I was doing. So it was like, yeah, let me see if this kind of grabs a gear, And I put it together. John went through it, edited it, and Ross is crazy and said, "Sure, come on board." So here I am.
I love it. It's really original because you went down a very different tack from everyone else as well. But I love the fact that it's still very, very much Nikki in there, and some of the lines they're very clever. And
terrible.
Terrible was the word I wrote next to it, but not terrible as in terrible rhyme. Just you are terrible. It's very good. And maybe it's something that you need to do a little bit more of because I really like that story. I think that you did a really good job of going down the urban fantasy path as well.
I actually just took what is real urban fantasy around my house because I live up here, in the mountains, isolated. And so that creature that I used is constantly talked about around here. So when I don't know if I should say the creature.
That guy. We'll give that away.
You believe in yourself, Ross. Yeah, so the Bigfoot is a very big thing around here, and there are a lot of believers. And because it's such a rural area, you do get people like the Andy and Barry characters who are like, yeah, man, I was out smoking, and like you get that type of thing, and then you also get the people who like want to go hunt for it. And so I just put all the stuff together that actually goes on here in town if I go down the mountain. And
do you get people turning up, like tourists coming looking and stuff like that? Because I have a friend of mine who went to the US to do exactly that. He went Bigfoot hunting.
Yeah, they do come for that, but like they don't come in groups.
Yeah.
So you don't typically know that they're here. Unless the television show shows up, which has happened. So
Wow.
So that's actually, fuck all this. That's actually a true story.
So, Nikki, obviously, there's a lot of people out there that are fascinated with Bigfoot, and obviously will want to read this anthology just based on what your story's about alone. So, who do you think would enjoy it? Like, if you, other than the Bigfoot element, because that's a given, a lot of people really like it. Who's going to be into this story that you wrote, and can you tell us the name of it as well, in case people want to look for it in the anthology?
Yeah. So, there's Romance Afoot is the name of the story, because of course I had to put a romantic element to it. And I think anybody who's curious about urban legends or anything that may or may not exist, because it's like any of them. It's like Champy is our US version of the Loch Ness monster. It lives in Lake Champlain, and there's so many of them that it's like, it's almost like believing in aliens. Are UFOs real? Well, one hasn't landed in my yard, but that doesn't mean that they're not real. And almost conspiracy theorist. So anybody who's interested in stuff like that would I think like this story. And it's got a little touch of humor to it, and it's got the romance element. So
brilliant. Love it.
Yeah. Yep.
And Nikki, if you don't mind, I'm just going to bring on SJ.
Yes.
Because she is another anthology author that is waiting in the green room, and then we'll bring you back on in towards the latter part of the show, and we'll all have a good chat together about Ross Boss's antics. So there's no question. Ross Boss.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers, Ross Boss. You get through that champagne, Nikki, and I will say hello to SJ once I can sort this out. So enjoy that. Ross Boss, how are you feeling about
you did it?
The fact that you
didn't even know she'd done it this time.
I left it on. You didn't change it the first time. Hello, SJ. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Are you enjoying the torment of Ross Boss?
Wasn't everyone? I mean, that's what we get up for every morning, isn't it? Just to be tormented by Ross Boss.
I think it's the torment of me that he's enjoying a lot more. But you're backing him up, SJ. Don't back him up. It doesn't help at all. Right?
He's in control. You're not going to go against the person who's in control of the mic.
And he loves it, doesn't he? Just look at his evil little smile, his little grin. So happy with himself.
Yeah. The best is yet to come, Ross. Just like keeping you anxious.
SJ, I think that your story was the most epic in the anthology. I think that you really, really went big. And it was fantastic in the most brilliant way. And I also love, just to give a little bit away, you're going to have to tell us more about it. I also love the fact that it was so steeped in Sheffield, and it was very much like, this is proper Sheffield. You'll understand this. I love that about it. It was genius. But I'm spoiling things. I just wanted to say that. Go on, Chris. Be in charge. I know how much you like it.
That's all right. I enjoyed that. Taking charge, Ross Boss. So, SJ, obviously, the editor is very happy with your story. So, can you tell us a little bit about it and how it came to be?
Well, it's really weird because when Nikki and John were talking, then I was like, yeah, exactly the same. I always write about, it's always about vampires, witches, and supernatural beings. And like them, I've been writing this series for, probably since the dawn of time. It's yet to be published, but there's 5 books in it. So as you can imagine, it's very time consuming, very sucked into that world. And urban fantasy, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And you know how you just kind of sit there, and I'd written a short story a while back about a dragon, and it was Mel actually who said, oh, I really like that character, I'd really like to read more about him. And then when Ross mentioned this, I was like, yeah, I have an idea. You know, where you just kind of sat there one day and you just go, oh, I know what I can do. And then the whole kind of what Ross has just mentioned there about Sheffield, when I'm not a native of Sheffield, as you can probably tell by my accent, but when I moved here about 11 years ago, everyone said to me, did you know that Sheffield's built on 7 hills? Did you know where else is built on 7 hills? Rome. And if one person's told me that, at least 72 people have told me it. And it just kind of pings. I was just like, I've got to get that into a story because it's just hysterical. And then the other kind of link was one of my friends in work. They just had their first baby as I was writing the story, and they called her Charlotte or Lottie. And my main character is Lottie after her. So, and that's...
Oh, nice. Love that.
That's it.
Yeah, a lot of love in the chat as well for the story. Obviously, Halo's had a bit of an insight. She's read it, and she's saying, obviously, that your story is a total blockbuster. So you just missed out the name of it then. So if somebody's watching this now and they're watching it back and they're thinking, yes, I want to read that story, what's the title? What they're looking for?
You love this. When you asked John that before, I was like, crap, what's mine called? And I had to actually go onto Amazon to find out the name of the story and then write it on a post-it note because I've got like the memory of a sieve. So mine is called Harmony of Fire, The Rise of the Sleeping Giants, not even dragons.
To be fair, SJ, you didn't have a title to your story until after it was written, which is quite interesting because I wondered, I didn't ask anyone this, but I meant to ask this. Did anybody have titles before they wrote their stories? Because I sometimes do when I'm writing books, but I never do when I have short stories. I think that's quite interesting.
I think I tend to kind of do the title after, and it's kind of what's prevalent from the story. Do you know what I mean? Without giving anything away, because I know I've just said it's called Dragons, but I specifically didn't want to mention dragons, which I've just done, which is awesome.
It's all right. It's a spoiler.
Adamant. Yeah, it's like no, there's no dragons in it at all. Not even a one. So yeah.
Yeah. When did you get the title of yours?
I did. Yeah, the title first. For some reason, that's the way I worked it around. I always knew that that's the title was what I wanted to write about, and then the story came afterwards. So yeah, that's why I did it that way around.
That's quite interesting. I wonder if it's different in short stories than it is to novels like that as well, because I didn't have a title, but I quite often have a working title when I'm writing something longer. But with short fiction, I never have a title until afterwards. It's quite an interesting one. But Esther, your story is action-packed as well. It's just a non-stop. There is no pause in terms of what's happening in your story. Is that
like how it
was that intentional all the way through? Just keep it moving really quickly.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I've been writing these really long kind of 5 books all about the same world, and I'd shot off and done short stories and prequels and stuff like John and Nikki were talking about before, but it was always the same characters, the same background and stuff, so it was a very, very slow burn, I suppose. So doing a short story, it was very much kind of I suppose like talking really fast and trying to get everything in. So I think it's kind of funny that you've said that, because that's how I wrote it, like very much. Yeah.
Did you find the 5,000 words? Because John obviously mentioned this as well. Did you find that a struggle in itself, trying to contain an idea into just 5,000 words?
Yeah, I think I was on like 4999 point recurring. I think I overwrote, which I always do. I'm one of those people who I just kind of brain dump and then go, yeah, there's far too much crap in there. You really need to dial it back. And I remember explaining to someone when my first draft of my first ever book, I explained the color green for about 2 chapters. And you know, when you read it back, you're just like, Jesus Christ. It was just like emeralds sparkling through the, it was awful, really, really awful. So yeah, overwrite.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it.
That's the best way. Yeah, because obviously if you overwrite and then you edit it out, and obviously when you're working with Ross Boss as a second pair of eyes, you know, he's obviously going to help. So did Ross help in any way? You know, the finished piece, the finished piece you sent in, did Ross change it or give you structural edits?
None.
No, you did. There was a couple of things you said. Was that? No. I thought
Yeah, but I mean, we're literally talking about very, very tiny things.
Usually grammar. I'm absolutely awful at grammar.
Which there is some irony in there, given that it's hardly my strength. But yeah, no, I didn't really influence any people's stories at all, particularly.
I think you made very valid suggestions.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a really good point, Ross Boss, to bring the other authors back on, and we can have a chat
that this
about.
Was basically an intervention.
Yeah, let's all have a chat about the influence of Ross Boss. So I'll bring John and Nikki back into the stream. Ross Boss is in the middle, as you can see. There he is. So how was Ross Boss for everybody else?
This is getting weird.
I have to say, totally off topic, I'm so happy that John and I are both involved in this, because I can't tell you how many people over the years have asked me if we're the same person. Oh wait, I'm looking the wrong way. And it's like, people will say to me, like, are you running both accounts? Are you, also an urban fantasy author? Are you John Ford? And I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. So here we go. Proof positive.
We have such different books as well. It's like,
yeah,
weird.
I don't know.
I mean, anyway. So Halo's made a comment here. Obviously, she is another contributor to this anthology. She said that Ross Boss told her specifically no organ fondling or molesting. So
I can't imagine why.
Did anybody else get any clear instructions from Ross?
Was allowed a mild tickle of some organs. I said she could tickle a liver or, flick a pancreas if she needed to. I was a little bit more generous than none at all. Back me up, Halo.
Crickets.
Nuggets made a pretty good comment. Obviously, if that wasn't the case for Halo and you limited her, then what did she write about? Which, again, we could probably ask you, Ross Boss, what is Halo's story about? And yeah, which
the one that wrote the fluffy kittens and unicorns one?
Yeah, that's the one. It's basically Care Bears, but softer.
Yeah.
Okay. Care Bears with more hugging. It was a bit weird.
Grim Dog of Care Bears.
Halo's story. Halo actually got back to me so quickly that she nearly gave me a heart attack, because in some ways it was still just an idea, and I went, "Oh, do you want to be involved?" And then she responded 2 days later with "Here you go. Here's my story," which is just so Halo for you. Really, it is just that intense enthusiasm, which is terrifying. And her story is typically dark, but it's a very, very clever twist. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's very sad, actually. Genuinely, it's a very sad story. I felt quite quite upset at the end of it, but it's very, very dark, and it's typically Halo twisted, but in a less molested organ way, let's say. I don't want to give too much away.
I think I should change names with her. I think she should be Halo Twisted and I should be Nikki Scott.
It's all about
Halo,
the direction of the
twisted
twist.
Halo.
Nikki. I wouldn't say not twisted.
Yeah, Malingo's said that he read Halo's story during this. Thanks for telling us that we didn't keep your attention. But I'm pretty sure tongues and maggots in a brain are molested organs. So, yeah, it sounds like he's had a very intense experience of Halo's story there already. And Agate thinks Halo is not from this planet. She's learning about humans and their culture, blending in really dark ways.
See, CJ, read my story, because that's that conspiracy theory, urban legend thing that I was talking about.
So, Ross, we talked obviously briefly about Malango having his brain molested by Halo's words. Were there any stories in particular that have scarred you in any way?
Yours, you know that. Yours is a particular part of Hooley's story, and I'm sure that everyone can agree with me. There is look at the nodding all around there.
Yeah.
Hooley's story where I think everybody is just gone, oh, mate. It's just
That was like line crossed.
The thing is, there are worse elements to the story, but it's, to be fair, it just shows how well written it is. My wife read your story, Hooley, and she had a go at me afterwards. Why did you make me read that? She said it was brilliant. She's like, why would you ask me to read that?
So cringy.
Yeah, I think that you probably provoked the most, let's just say, a reaction. It's a brilliant story. It's fantastically written, but I don't think anyone's going to argue that it certainly is the story that probably made the most people retch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I can make someone physically sick with that story, then that's a win.
Is that what the aim was, to make Ross Boss physically sick?
Yeah, I just thought, how much can I get into his brain?
I had to read it several times as well.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a train wreck. You get to that part and you're like, oh no. And you read it again and you're like, oh shit. And you read it again and you're like, damn. And you read it again.
I have read a lot of Hooley's work, and the title sounds so nice.
Yeah, I blame the writing community. I think I've got darker since reading people's work in the writing community.
I don't know, Chris. To be fair, your novel has a scene that really upset me, and I was pretty pissed off after reading. I think I actually messaged you to say several unpleasant things to you about how bad that was.
You did so much to the point where I thought, I'm just going to let him calm down until I respond.
I'm not going to talk to him for a while. It's definitely a hallmark of your writing that you can provoke those sort of reactions in people, which I think is a talent. I think it's a talent. Either that or you're evil. It's one of the two. Maybe both.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you read through some of the shorts that are in there, you read them and you go, oh, I couldn't write this one myself. And then you go, I wouldn't have had the imagination to write that one. This one's funny and I can't write comedy. And then you get to Chris's and you go, yeah, I don't know if I'd have wanted to have written this one. You go, it's kind of that disturbing you get to. You're like, yeah, would I have written this? Well? Probably not.
Yeah. I didn't want to send it to him. I was literally...
Yeah, you were being you were the only person who was being really, really difficult about.
Yeah, I was like,
let me read your story, but it's brilliant.
I wrote it and I read it, and then I was like, I don't know if I want to send this to. It's really like, should I actually send this? Because I'm literally the only person who's read it. And I thought, even I don't want to know if I want to be associated with this story.
Pseudonym.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it took a long time. But Ross, when they all came in, obviously you had to package it in such a beautiful way, which you obviously have. The cover is fantastic. It's something that, you know, myself and I'm sure everybody else is absolutely privileged to just be a part of and have such a beautiful cover on a book with their work in it. So how did that all come about? Once you've got all the stories in, you've done the groundwork of putting these amazing writers together. How did you go about that, the next stage?
It was quite a lengthy process, to be fair. It took a lot longer than I thought. The cover is, I like designing covers. I do a lot of stuff with graphics work, and video work and stuff like that. So I'm quite good with design elements. But what I wanted it to do is to really reflect what was in the story. And that's why I did several versions of the covers. And then I actually got you guys to go through the iterations and vote. You chose the wrong one, just to be clear. I love the cover. I disagreed with you all. I would have chosen a slightly different one, but that's part of the fun of doing this. And I think that that's the thing that I really liked about the whole process, was being able to talk to everyone and make sure that everyone has an input in what's going on. Because I think that there's a difference between submitting your story for a publication and being involved in something as a team. And I really wanted this to be an effort where everyone got to contribute their story, but also their thoughts about what was going on elsewhere as well, and how it's presented and how it went out there. And I hope that everyone enjoyed that part of it, because it was meant to be an enjoyable process. So doing stuff like the cover design and stuff like that, and giving options to everyone, saying, what do you think? Even though you were wrong, it was still a lot of fun to do that and to hear everyone's thoughts about their ideas. And the story, that the cover, I do love the cover, I am joking. And hopefully it's got elements of the stories that I could put elements in there for. And I think it reflects the tone that I was aiming for, which is, it's meant to be fun. And I think that everyone got that it's meant to be fun, and it's meant to be, some of the stories are quite tough in terms of the emotional toll that they take on people. But there's also a lot of fun. There's a lot of humor in there. And I think that you said it to me that with some of the earlier ones where I wanted to give people an idea of the sort of tone that was going on, I shared some example covers of what we might use. And it's got a kind of a grown-up Goosebumps feel to it. I think it was you that said that. Does everyone remember Goosebumps? Was it R.L. Stein? Yeah. And what were the ones next? Point Horror. That was it. I tried to remember that for ages.
Yeah, that links into the question that Malingo has. And I apologize profusely for referring to you as a man, because you are definitely a woman. You put it in brackets and everything. So, yeah. But why does the cover look like an anthology for early teens? It's a great cover, but it looks like a Goosebumps type one to me. So obviously that's a nice little tie into what you were saying there, Ross. Are we going to have a load of teenagers reading this book?
Well, hopefully not. There's a trigger warning on the comments, and there's a trigger warning in the very brief intro at the start of it. Hopefully not, but that wasn't an accident. It is meant to be tonal. It's meant to be a kind of you're going on a Scooby-Doo type adventure, and that's what the stories are supposed to be. And they're supposed to be, you're going to see lots of different things. It's going to be fun. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that's going on at the moment where people are trying to make things either really, really, really dark and really gritty, or they're making them very, very, very serious in other ways. And I like the idea of just having a bit of fun with things, and that the whole point of this was meant to be a bit of fun. So hopefully that's what people will take away from it, because the authors involved, you guys have certainly, you made it awesome. It's got nothing to do with the cover. It's got nothing to do with how it's put together. It's got to do with the stories, and they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And I'm really, really pleased with how it's come together. And frankly, I think that your stories are fantastic, and I wish I'd written them all. And I was tempted to steal them all, but you know.
So Ross, obviously, when you look on Amazon, it says for like book 1 of 1, obviously. But my understanding is
that's called counting, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I mean, good maths there. But are you planning to do a series for these? Are you planning on releasing one a year, maybe, or more frequently than that? And if so, what will they look like, and how will you go about doing it?
I'm taking a little bit of a breath right now just to think about it, about what I want to do. I want to do more of them. I hope that everyone that was involved enjoyed it and would like to be involved in more of them as well, because I would certainly be asking everyone. Awesome. Because I think it worked really nicely the way it all came together. So I want to do more, but I need to finish my own book and get that out, because I'm getting quite a lot of complaints that it's not there yet, because I did say it was going to be there before this year, and we're quite a way into it now. So that needs to get done. And then I think what I'd like to do, if I can streamline things a little bit, is try to release them more frequently than that. Halo.
Sorry. Sorry, John's cracking me up.
Yeah, I like
no, Halo. It's his thigh-high leather boots that are the real hero.
I can't see them on camera. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's just them.
Right? He's all business on the top, party on the bottom.
Yeah. Bigfoot's got
the hope
would
be. The hope would be going forwards, maybe one every 6 months, if I can churn them out that quickly, and if people are interested, because writing a short story is good fun, and I'd like it to almost be like a somewhere in between an anthology and I don't want to say a magazine album, but you know what I mean, like a regular anthology that's every 6 months or something like that. I think it'd be a lot of fun. If I can keep it fun rather than it becoming painful for anybody involved, especially myself.
Like it comes out in issues.
Yes,
like a magazine
exactly.
would.
Yeah.
I love that. So we've got about 3 minutes left of the show. So whilst I ask Ross Boss to tell us where we can get the anthology, I'm going to let every single author ask Ross Boss just a very quick question, if you've got one. One that you can sort of give us a quick response to. But before that happens, Ross Boss, where can we find this anthology?
Okay, you can get it at Amazon. It is free in ebook form. You can also get it at Apple Books. You can get it on Kobo. You can get it on pretty much every platform going. You can also get it in paperback, and the paperbacks are released at cost as well. So we don't actually get anything for those at all. But it is nice to hold a paperback in your hand, so please feel free to pick those up. They are also available on all platforms. And the really important thing that for everyone is that we want it to be accessible to everybody. The idea isn't to be profiteering out of any of this at all. We just want you to be able to read the stories of some really, really brilliant authors. And Chris.
So questions for Ross Boss. Obviously, we've got 3 very quick questions, if we can do. SJ, we'll start with you because you're closest to the anthology there in the corner.
Okay. Where did you come up with the idea of They Walk Among Us?
What was that? Sorry, SJ?
Where did you come up with the idea for They Walk Among Us?
Oh, I generally don't know. That's a great answer, isn't it? I've got no idea at all.
Cheers for that.
Well sorry, John.
I've got no idea.
Quick question, John.
Where did you come up with the title Malarkey's ImaginOmnibus?
Stop it. Doing it on purpose. Because I had stuck in my head what is it? The Imaginarium and all those kinds of words that people have used in the past, and there's some brilliant ones. And I really wanted to use something that someone else already used. And I thought, no, instead I need to come up with something different. I like malarkey. I just think it's a funny word, and I think it's fun to say. But I like the idea that there's a mysterious entity behind all of these things, kind of like a Tales of the Crypt kind of character, you know, the Crypt Keeper. And then ImaginOmnibus, because no one can say it, so it's fun.
And Nikki, quick question.
Yeah. So speaking of Tales from the Crypt, do you think that this would make a good visual series, like on the screen?
I think it would, actually. That's a great idea. But I also wonder if it would make a good audio series. And that is something that I've thought about as well. Is could we maybe do something in the way of an audiobook with it, or even just as podcasts of reading the stories or something? I think that could be fun. But it's
cool.
another one of those. Yeah, it's another one of those ideas that's somewhere over here in the huge pile of ideas that are used to distract me. I should be doing things I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, that's a great idea.
It's a great idea. And Agate reckons that the titles have come from a brain milk explosion caused all the titles. And Halo says the brain udders. So yeah, I'll leave everyone with that lovely image.
If you don't milk those udders, they get sore. Just saying, guys.
They do. Jess Ford says he's just showing up as John's cheerleader. But I also think there is an element in the Nikki and John wife element in there. Maybe a bit of jealousy going on.
That's my sister wife.
Yeah.
So listen, all 13 authors are going to be, all of the songs are going to be on my radio show tomorrow. So
Brilliant.
Mixcloud / Naturally Twisted to hear everybody's music.
I will put that link in the comments on here.
And how long did that show come in at?
Do what?
How long did that show come in at?
2 hours and 45 minutes. Yeah.
Wow. Well, they were supposed to be 90 minutes now.
Well, yeah, but the omnibus blew it out of the water. It is. It's a music orgy. I got 13 authors, plus I had to fit on all my regular show stuff. But yeah, so.
Brilliant. Love it. We'll all definitely tune in for that music orgy, as Halo said. But yeah, for now, I think that's everything. And we will obviously encourage people to go and pick this up. It's not even like you have to buy it. It's completely free. But you can buy a paperback version just to have it on your bookshelf like Ross Boss with a great big bookshelf. So yeah, buy a paperback copy and have that in your house from all these amazing authors. And obviously there's only 5 of us here. So great maths again. There's 8 authors that are not involved tonight, but they are with us in spirit and their stories are amazing as well. So please check them out. And obviously all their names are underneath, and they have been for the whole episode. They've been scrolling underneath. So yeah, go and check them out. We'd absolutely love you to do that. But for now, we're going to love you and leave you, and we'll see you on Friday when we return with the Writing Community Chat Show. Yeah, I don't even know what's going on now. People are talking about cheesecake, but thank you very much. I'm going to wave and say goodbye, and have a great week, and pick up that anthology. Go do it.
Bye.